Alrighty, good afternoon everybody. Doing a review on a PvE Update 44 Werewolf. This is nowhere in the sense of meta, but I have been a werewolf enthusiast for several years now. I love running werewolves in PvP, and then I decided I'm going to make the jump and make a couple for PvE. Doesn't do nearly as enough damage as some other builds would, especially on a Dark Elf and especially on a Templar, but hey, they're fun. I love doing it, and they hit really good damage considering. So let's dive into it. Front bar, and only on your front bar, I have the set from a Hellraw Citadel Advancing Yokita. This has been used numerous times on Stam Sorks, just basic Stam Sorks. Extremely well in the realm of increasing your crit chance when you do martial melee damage. On a werewolf, your claws and light attacks provide that martial melee, so it is incredibly easy to keep up your stacks as long as your light attacks are frequent. So on the main hand, I have Nirnhoned with flame damage. On the off hand, I've had charged with poison. Now I did do a little bit of testing, because a werewolf build, you don't really have a source of weapon damage enchant like you would on a back bar of a typical DPS. I did try running that here. Unfortunately, it did not quite go up to par as I thought it would. It's about a loss of 5k overall due to the amount of poison damage that this produces. Not to mention with the charged bonus, it really goes a long way. So flame and poison damage on your front bar. Back bar does not matter because you are on a werewolf. One piece slime craw for the extra crit chance. I am running a medium set here. Because you're running Advancing Yokita, you need to run one piece of it on the body since you're running a mythic in the jewelry, and it is a heavy piece. I did do the testing with several sets, including Pillar of Nirn, which is what I used to run on this type of build, and it does not go up to par even with running one piece of heavy. So 1 heavy, 6 medium on your body. All divines, all stamina. I'm running Reliquin's majority on the body, excellent dot if you keep up your light attacks, which you have to on a werewolf anyway. All divines, all stamina. I'm running Perfected here on the PTS, not really that required. The extra stamina is nice, especially on a werewolf, but it's not the end of the world if you can't make it work. Now for your neck, I'm actually running Shapeshifter's Chain. This is a little bit different. I've done the testing between this and Oaken Soul. Oaken Soul is nice, but it is not better for a PvE werewolf full parse. The other ones, the rings, are Advancing Yokita. All 3 are Bloodthirsty, all 3 with the physical harm enchant. They will show up as multi-effect. I do recommend the physical harm to the stamina recovery, as you're going to burn through a lot of it. Now on a Dark Elf and a Templar, I am finding it easy to keep up my stamina, especially with potions and blessed shard synergies when parsing. But either way, I run on Orcs, I run a Dark Elf in PvP, I run a Breton werewolf on Xbox, and they all need stamina. So you absolutely need it here. All attributes, all points are in stamina, of course. The Lavafoot Soup I am running, you need the stamina recovery on a werewolf, and the max stamina allows you to do more damage. The boon is the Thief, of course, as with all DPS, and of course you need to make sure you have Lycanthropy infected on your tune. Now your characters, your skills, let's go through it. Doesn't really matter the order here. Brutal Pounce is one heck of a dot, not to mention during trash fights and trials and in dungeons, you have the potential to get 600 or more weapon and spell damage per enemy hit with the initial jump. If you cast it again within 5 seconds, regardless of which up to 6 enemies you hit with the initial jump, you do almost a conal AoE in front of you, dealing at least 5k bleed damage to those in front of you. and the likelihood is they're going to be under that 100 health per the skill here. So you're going to get an extra 450%. Massive, massive dot. Great for trash and in PvP. Hircine's Rage, mainly running this for the restore of stamina and major berserk. You do take a little bit more damage, but I find it evens out in PvE, especially with you going into trials and running it on healers. You'll find that 5% is nothing. Don't recommend it for PvP though. And this is your source of major brutality and sorcery. Ferocious Roar. With the recent update, you have to make sure you're running the right one. On a couple updates ago, it might have been as recent as this past update, you need to make sure you have this specific morph for PvE, as it provides the major savagery and prophecy. That's the main reason why it's here. In content, it's great if you cast it because it provides off balance and terrified. Terrified is really great only for you in a regular trial setting, but off balance works wonders for other arc DPS or anyone running exploiter. Now you might be asking, are you running this in a parse setting? I am not, even though it goes really well with your main spammable Howl of Agony, as it does at least up to 20% more if they're off balance and terrified. The dummy doesn't get off balanced by Ferocious Roar. It gets terrified, but not off balance. I've tested parsing on it. It is a DPS loss just because of the amount of times you're casting Ferocious Roar over Howl of Agony. It really stacks up. So don't cast it in content, don't cast it on parsing. Claws of Anguish, one hell of a dot. Major Defile is great in content. Not many tanks apply it these days, but more importantly, every single time that disease damage ticks over the 20 seconds, they are instantly applied with the disease status effect, and that goes a mile. And of course, your ultimate is going to be the Werewolf Berserker, the PvE version. The bleed damage is amazing for light attacks. The extra stamina recovery is nice, extra stamina is nice, but you really want it for the bleed damage. Okay, champion points. Fighting Finesse, you do need a little bit of help hitting the crit cap just because of the build and the way it's laid out. I have tested it with Backstabber. Backstabber actually does worse than Fighting Finesse. So Fighting Finesse is the way to go. You're not going to hit the crit cap. Just accept it. It's not going to happen. But that's okay. You still do just as well. Deadly Aim. The dot increase, Thermitage. I'm sure I butchered that. And Wrathful Strikes. Again, tested Backstabber. I even tested Exploiter. They don't go up to par. Okay, for potions, just the standard warrior elixir, weapon power pot. Honestly, with a werewolf, you could go with full stam or even tri-stat potion, because you already have brutality and sorcery automatically with this build. But I'm just running it for the ease of access here in the PTS. Alright, before we parse, I do want to, for those who might be wondering, why are you not running Oaken Soul? Well, I'll show you. So here's Oaken Soul. So if you equip it, you get Minor Berserk, Minor Courage, Brutality, Sorcery, Prophecy, Savagery, Minor Force, Protection, Resolve, Mending, Fortitude, and Intellect, Endurance, Heroism, Slayer, Aegis, and Empower. It is a crazy mythic. It used to be crazy good for werewolves. My position is that they are no longer good, especially in a PvE setting. You got to look at it. Minor Berserk is a damage increase. However, through this build, you get Major Berserk if you cast Hircine's Rage. Minor Courage, that's provided elsewhere either by tanks or healers or Xena's Disc from an arc. You already have Brutality, Sorcery, Prophecy, and Savagery, which are the four big ones. You have that. Minor Force, you do have a loss here with the Minor Force, but it's very minimal. Protection, Resolve, Mending, you don't really need. major protection, major resolve is usually provided in the group in the way of a warden healer, so you're covered there. Minor protection, again, running a trial setting, you don't even run that on a typical DPS. I find that irrelevant. Minor mending, your burst heal does already 20k health buffed. You don't really need it, and you can't heal anyone but yourself, so I find that irrelevant. Fortitude, intellect, and endurance are the recoveries for stamina, magicka, and health. You can get that by running a tri potion, and if memory serves, that's a major buff, not a minor, so I find that irrelevant. Minor heroism, the ultimate regeneration, you don't need it because you're on your ultimate the whole time. Slayer, you get that from the Reliquant set. Aegis and power are irrelevant in the trial setting. So again, I don't find Oaken Soul worth it in a PvE setting, at least for a werewolf. So let's dive into the parse. So we're going to transform here. We're going to use our potion, and this is pretty much the setting for our whole rotation. Potion, rage, jump, hit it again, claws, and howl. It's a one hell of an easy build, easy rotation. You cast Hircine's Rage on cooldown for the Major Berserk. And you just do this back and forth, back and forth. As you can see, my ability to keep up my stamina is very high right now. Mixed with the potions, the werewolf form, it is very easy to keep up stamina. Something I did almost forget to mention is that you already have Major Resolve in this build due to the werewolf form itself. So something to consider as well.